Hey there, folks. In my video on the double lift, I mentioned something called the Marlo Tilt. I'm not actually sure if I identified it by name. I probably should have checked before I started this video. But anyway, it's called the Marlo Tilt. And what I said that it did is, if you're doing the ambitious card routine, you take a card, say the Nine of Hearts, and you slide it into the middle of the deck with a snap. It jumps right back to the top. Okay, so the idea of the Marlo Tilt is that you're never putting the card in the middle even though it looks like you are. What you're actually doing is sliding the card just beneath the top card. Okay, so you're effectively doing this. You're just sliding it in there and then it winds up second from the top. The way that you do this and make it look convincing, I'll mention the key points first. The main thing you want to do is you get a break, first of all, underneath the top card, okay, besides the one that you're putting in there. And then when you're about ready to do it, you just adjust the break so that it's a complete break on the back, like this. Okay, so it's not touching the thumb here like it normally would be if you had a break. It's actually completely separated. But of course from this angle, you can't tell. Okay, so you take your card, and essentially what you do is you slide the card in like this. Okay, so when you view it from this side, it looks like the card is honestly going into the middle of the deck. And even if you could cover it up like this somehow, yes, it would look like the card is actually going into the middle of the deck. But you don't need to go to those extents. So anyway, and now, so that's the basics of the tilt. And then as you push the card in, right when you get even with the deck, you just slide the card up, secure a break, and now you're ready to do a double lift to display the card. A good selling point here, if you're going to do this, is once you have your break and you're going to put the card in the middle, you poke around in this part of the deck a couple times, just that these middle cards here will push out a bit, making it look like you're legitimately trying to put this card in the middle. Okay, so it winds up looking something like this. Okay, and how you're accomplishing this is you just turn the card sideways to begin with. So it's not just going straight in, but you just tilt it a little tiny bit. That way you can push on the cards, but this one won't slide into the deck. It'll just push a few out the end. You don't want to exaggerate that too much. You want it to make it look, or you want to make it look natural. So you just go like this. You go give it a little shove till some cards are poking out the front, and then pull it back like you're trying to adjust it, and then slide it in the proper position. And then once you have it slid in and you've got your break, square up the cards at the front end, and you're set to go with your double lift. Oh, excuse me. To show the card back on top. Okay, so the way that works, if you haven't watched my video on the double lift and you don't know how to do it, I highly suggest watching that, because once you know the double lift and the tilt, you're pretty much set to do a basic ambitious card routine. I think the one that I did in the other video was it started with a double lift, and you said, here we have the ace of spades. Okay, we take the ace of spades, shove it into the middle of the deck, and just like that, the ace of spades is back on top. Okay, so here, we'll try this again. We've got the ace of spades on top. We're going to try this again. Here we go. Now this is the tilt here. Okay. Push the ace into the deck, snap of the fingers, and suddenly the ace is still. Oh, excuse me. Pretend that didn't happen. Mind you, this is a teaching video, so I don't think it makes that big a difference. Okay, so there we have the ace still on top, and then you can say, we'll do it one more time. You can see the card fairly go into the middle, yet somehow it still comes back up to the top. And then from there you can do other things, like probably what I'll talk about in a future video. I'll just leave this as a little bit of a teaser. We give the card a bit of a bend, alright? Just like that, so you can see that card has a bend in it. Then if I set it down, you're obviously going to know that's the card. Okay, so we legitimately slide the bent card into the middle of the deck. I'm going to come up close for this one. Watch that bend. Just like that. Back on top. And actually I said I was going to save that for a future video, but I'm actually going to show you that right now because I realize it really doesn't involve any more moves. It's exactly the same. Okay, so I showed the card the very last time and I said look, it rose to the top again. Now what I did here is I slid my hand off camera. Now obviously if you're doing this in person you're not going to have a camera, but you can do it all the same. All you have to do is make sure they're not looking at your hand. And all you do is this. Okay, so you turn the top card face up. That's what I did. I just slid my hand forward and I did it on my leg. But you don't have to do it that way. You could, if you're standing up, you're showing someone, here I'll crouch. You're showing someone the trick here, blah blah blah. You've just made their card jump to the top again. You can hand it out for examination. Flip over the card on the side of your body. Whatever you want to do, whatever works. And then you bring your hand back up, but you don't let them see the top card. You put their card on top as you turn over the deck. So essentially what you're doing now is you're set up for a double lift, okay? Because you've got your two cards and their card is on the bottom. So that's what you're doing. You're setting up for a double lift. So you're actually legitimately showing this as one card. You're saying, here, why don't you examine that card? You flip over. You just get their card back and you say, okay, here's what we're going to do with your card. And you're set up now for a double lift. And the rest is history. You're actually bending two cards. Not very much of a bend, just enough that it stays bent. You don't want to crease it because then it's going to ruin your deck of cards, obviously. Okay, so you give it a little bend like that. Show it from the side, being careful not to expose the double. Don't give too much of a view, just say, here, we're bending it. You can see from the side the card is bent. You put it on top. And now you're going to hold the cards in biddle grip, which is just with your index finger curled on top of the pack, thumb at the back, fingers at the front. And you're not pushing down on the deck, because if you do, the double is going to unbend like this, and it's going to give away the illusion here. Because the illusion is that that bend is there to stay and will not move. That's the illusion you're creating. So you cut off about half the cards, slide this card into the middle, and once you do, you start pressing down on the top card, so it doesn't look bent. But now you've got a bent card here. But that's not their card. Their card is on top still. Okay? So then you put the packs together like this, being very careful not to squish that card. You want to keep it just like this. Whoops, excuse me. Okay, so you've got it like this, and then you're saying, okay, we're going to make the card do it one last time. You pull down with your thumb here to square these cards up, and then as soon as you square them, you release that top card. So in effect, you're creating a visual rising of that card. And the weight of the cards will be enough, as you can see here, to keep that other card in the middle from showing itself. Okay? The weight of the cards alone will do that. If you're not comfortable with doing both of these moves at once to make the card rise to the top, you can just do it two-handed. So you're holding it like this, and then you just push down, and as you push down, you release pressure on your index finger. Okay, so you say, watch that card in the middle, just like that. Rises right over to the top. It's more visual, I think, that way, because you can get the timing better. But it's a little trickier because you got two hands. It doesn't look as fair. But anyway, that's that. So now you're pretty much set to do a basic ambitious card routine. You know the double lifts, you know the tilt, you know how to do the bend in the card, which is a very good convincer. Tomorrow I think I will record another video on things you can add to the double lift, or sorry, not to the double lift, to the ambitious card performance. And then we'll go from there. Alright, thanks very much for watching.